Oh, we just gained a whole bunch of people. Welcome, everybody. We like doubled the amount of people in here in the last minute. So welcome, welcome. We'll get started in just a couple of minutes. I don't see Sarah Roundy yet. Sarah, are you on? I am. Okay. Well, we may skip Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it is 8:30, so I am going to start. Welcome, everyone, to our spring annual health and physical education meeting. If you are not speaking, will you please hit mute on your mic? Otherwise, everyone gets to hear you. Anyway, I'm Jody Parker. For those of you that have not met me face-to-face, this is an odd way to meet you all, but I am glad that you are here. There's still at least one person with their mic not muted. Let's see if I can figure out how to mute you. Ah, well, I like this power of mute. I wonder if I'm missing anyone. Okay, I think I got everyone. Oh, no, there's still a lot of people not muted. Is there a mute all, Jerry? And every once in a while, you guys might hear me say Jerry. Jerry is our amazing.
Sorry, I had to find my mouse. Yes, there's a mute all. If you go to the participants, you'll have to.
That control panel thing again?
Yeah, so there should be like a participants.
Okay, participants.
Mute all. I don't know if you see it.
I don't. So when I hit participants, it just gives me a list of everybody.
I can take host rights back real quick and mute everybody if you would like. And then give it back to you.
There's only a few not muted, so I can go through and hurry in. I can just hear kind of their background noise a little bit. Okay, that's a little quieter. I think maybe I got the ones that had some kind of background interference noise. Okay, let's try that again now that I don't hear like some background interference. I'm Jody Parker, for those of you that maybe just hopped on as well. This is our spring meeting. We do this every year. Normally it is in person, and we do give the opportunity for those who are kind of further away to join through WebEx. We also record this, so and we'll put a copy of this in your Google Drive. You should have all gotten invitations. If you are, oh, somebody else isn't muted because I hear myself. Somebody's computer. Those of you that have not attended, welcome. We again, we do this every fall and every spring. And normally I am in person and not running a computer. So I apologize in advance for my kind of naivety to how to use this technology. I am learning, and unfortunately I am learning with 76 currently viewers. Great way to learn. That's always the best with a large audience, right? Okay. We have kind of a packed agenda. I will go as quickly as possible. I don't see, oh, there we go. I don't see Sarah on here yet, but she is from Utah Department of Health, and she is our first, oh, Sarah is on here. Okay, awesome. Welcome, Sarah. So I will kind of pass this over, but kind of who's here. Crystal Carfaro is actually not on today. She is she's not feeling so great, but Laura Hathaway is going to be taking over, and she will be my new support. So you will start seeing very shortly. Somebody just came on, please mute your mic. You'll start seeing some more emails from Laura Hathaway, and as Crystal kind of switched positions again on us, and will no longer be supporting health and PE primarily. For those of you that do the CPR certificate or CPR grants, Crystal will still be over the CPR grants, but Laura will be taking over kind of my daily finance and purchasing things that Crystal's been handling. We have registered, we had 190 different health and PE, district specialists, charter specialists, and even some classroom teachers this time. The joy of not being with your students, which is, I know, awful, did allow you to participate and hear this firsthand instead of hearing it through emails later. We have Jeff Van Holten on. He is the USBE policy advisor. Oh, sorry, I skipped Sarah. I had said her name like 20 times. We're going to have Bridget Parson and also Dr. Wu, who are from Huntsman Cancer Institute. Nate Thomas is from Salt Lake Community College. He's going to be talking about some professional learning, and then, of course, all of our classroom teachers. And we have some local health department people listening in today as well. So, Sarah, are you ready? Do I need to unmute you?
Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Okay, awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Roundy, like Jody mentioned. I work at the Utah Department of Health. My role is the school health coordinator at the Department of Health, where I work with districts and the state on physical activity and nutrition policies and pieces. Sorry, I have a kid. Okay, goodbye. Anyways, that's what I do most of the time right now. I have been working most of my time on COVID-19, so I thought I would just give a couple of things that I hear from the public that maybe you might all be interested in as far as the coronavirus. So on your screen, I have 3 definitions. I think that these get intertwined a lot. Excuse me. The first one I want to talk about is social distancing. That is what our governor's directive, what he has asked us to do, as well as a lot of the local jurisdictions in our state. So social distancing really means to stay away from everybody as much as you can, stay around your surrounding homes, and just help stop spread COVID-19. So then quarantine, nobody is really quarantined in our state unless you are someone who has been around someone who has been tested positive for COVID, or who isn't sick, but you may not be sick, but you've been around someone who was tested positive for COVID-19. So that's when you would quarantine yourself either in your home or in a separate bedroom or space in your home, so that you will stop the spread of COVID-19. And then self-isolation, those are for people who have already been tested positive for COVID-19. That's when you would isolate yourself into a certain room, and that's where you would be. So anyways, I just wanted to really just mention those 3 different definitions, because I think that we keep talking about how our state is quarantined, and we are not quarantined. We're just we're just social distancing. it works as far as directives and orders. So our governor, Gary Herbert, he issued the Stay Safe, Stay Home directive. And again, this is not a shelter in place. So we need to remember that as well. As far as kind of comparing it to how schools work, Governor Herbert kind of issues more of a broad approach so that the local jurisdictions can make stricter guidelines within their local community if needed. So if you have been following the news or you've been following this virus, you'll know that there are many local health departments that have made orders that may be more strict. And that's the reason why our governor hasn't made those at the state level. It's so that those local jurisdictions can do that because we are a local controlled state. Okay, Jody, can you go to the next slide? Do I have anything else?
I believe you have one, and it didn't go. Hold on. Oh, there you go.
Okay.
That's your
So
last one.
as far as some updates, if you haven't been following, the health department and the governor, they do actually not Facebook Live anymore. See, that's how fast things change. It's usually on KSL or Channel 2 News, or they're usually streaming it through their radio outlets as well. But at 1:30, there is a daily briefing every day on the things that have happened within the last 24 hours. So that's when you will get case rate updates, deaths, or any other changes that have happened. Some things that came out yesterday that you may all want to be aware of is that our testing is pretty low in our state, so that they are asking, they're working with healthcare systems to be a little bit more lenient on their criteria on who can be tested. So anybody that has flu-like symptoms, which is coughing, muscle ache, fever, shortness of breath, and there are two others. I can't remember off the top of my head, but if you go to that first website, they'll be listed on there. There are several ways where you can get tested. That second link, Test Utah, that's where you can take that assessment, and then they can direct you on where a testing site may be located. However, you can go to the drive-through website as well. Most of the stuff we are following is guidance through the Center of Disease Control or the World Health Organization. So I added those two links on there as well if you're interested in that. So as far as COVID-19 and how it's working in our state, I think that we're doing a pretty good job on our social distancing. Yes, there are people that are not doing that. However, we can only control how much we can control. So if any of you guys have questions, you can go to the coronavirus.utah.gov website, and there is a web chat that you can send in a quick question if you need something answered pretty quickly. You can just type in your question and we can help you with that. You can also call our hotline or you can email me directly and I can find an answer for you. So that's all I have on COVID-19. I did want to mention before I hop off, sorry, I have to get on the COVID chats in just a second, but as far as this partnership with the State Board of Ed, I do want to mention, as always, our local health departments are here to help assist any of you in any of your efforts on physical activity or nutrition. Some of the things that we will be going forward next year with would be helping you still achieve getting students active for 16 minutes a day. And kind of exciting, we are working more a little bit in the nutrition world with the child nutrition programs. So we will be helping them getting those who qualify for free and reduced lunch, getting them set up to the program. We want to really help market their food service programs. We work with any of their programs that the child nutrition program has to offer, we can help. And as far as physical activity and we would also be super excited to help any of those that need help. If we don't know what you need, then we don't know how to help you. So I would just say, if you have a thought or you have an idea, just send it along and we can help work with you so that you can help provide these programs to the students. Okay, are there any questions? Or Jody, what do you want me to do at this point?
So if anyone has, if you want to voice a question, you can unmute yourself, or you can also type into the chat box and I can read them off to Sarah. Your choice. Sorry, Lisa, I just muted you. Did you have a question? I unmuted you. You're good. You can talk.
It's all good. I just got here. Sorry.
Okay. Then I'm muting you again. Okay. I don't see anything in the chat box. I don't see that. Oh, here's one. Is it our responsibility to convey these discussions to our schools? Can you answer that, Sarah? Oh, I muted you, Sarah. I'm sorry. Let me unmute you. There you go.
Okay. No, it is not your responsibility. However, if you get questions about COVID-19, I would just point them into these websites. Really, coronavirus.utah.gov has all of your answers to most of your questions. And if you can't get those on the website, like I mentioned before, you can just type that in and we can get you get that question answered.
Any last questions for Sarah before we let her go and do more awesome work at the department? I have a couple thank yous and I have a couple hello Sarahs. Bruce said hi Roundy, but you know, same thing.
Hi, everyone. One other thing I'll just say before I jump off, in your local jurisdictions, I would just say reach out to your local. It's going to probably have stricter orders. So you'll need to be following those guidelines as far as when dates of orders will be released or any types of businesses or other things like that. That'll be through your local health departments, not the state. Okay.
Great. Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks, everyone. Good luck.
I noticed a bunch more people kind of jumped on in the last few minutes. Reminder, the PowerPoint, don't worry about like taking notes or like writing down websites. This is going to be shared in the Google Drive, and there was a link in that to the Google Drive in your email that you got in order to get to this web address. So all of this is in that Google Drive, and the PowerPoint will be there. It's not there quite yet. It will be at like 10:35. As soon as we're done, I will go and share this into your Google folders. Okay, Jeff, you are up. Let me find you and unmute you, unless you can do it yourself. Oh, you've unmuted yourself. You're so brilliant.
Good morning, everybody. I wanted to start off today. By the way, my name is Jeff Van Holten. I am the Director of Public Affairs for the Utah State Board. I also do a lot of policy work for the board. And so today, my goal is to give you a 20 public ed legislative summary. This PowerPoint that Jody has up is the one that we give when we go on a roadshow. All the legislative updates that we give. I can tailor it as long or as short as I need to, and I know that this group is a very specific group, so I don't want to cover everything in here. That can take upwards to 2 hours, and I'm sure you guys don't want to sit for 2 hours and listen to me geek out about the legislative session. But if you do, an email. I love a captive audience anytime. So I'm going to bounce around a little bit, Jody, so I will kind of let you know how many slides to click over and whatnot. But I did want to start with this slide right here. We had 198 education-related bills that we were tracking this session, and 112 of them passed. That's a 56% passage rate for public ed bills that we were tracking. That's actually really high. We usually see somewhere between 30 to 33% of the bills that we're tracking pass. And this year was somewhat of a unique year. There was a lot going on with public education funding and renegotiating how some of that works, which gave us some leverage as well with the legislature. And there was a lot more camaraderie than there has been per se in the past. So we were able to get a lot of our bills passed this year, and a lot of education bills got catapulted up to the top of the list. So that was an exciting thing for us this year. And we got some record funding, all subject to change now that COVID-19 has hit. We've been receiving a lot of questions about, well, what happens to the budget and the public ed budget? We got a 6% increase in the WPU. For those unfamiliar with what a WPU is, that is the weighted pupil unit. That's part of a mathematical formula we use to determine how much every school district and charter school gets of the big pot that we get from the legislature. That a 6% increase in that value of the WPU, the per pupil spending, was essentially record breaking. We've never seen a 6% increase. We've got a question here from Bruce. Are the lawmakers meeting again to take back the money they just gave us? Great question. The answer is yes, they are meeting again. The answer of, are they going to take back the money? I would couch that in two ways. They will be having a special session on Thursday, if you haven't seen that. Thursday's special session has about 20 different bills, which is really high for a special session. Usually a special session has...
Hey, who were you calling?
That being said, there is going to be a second special session in May when they have a better idea of what taxes are. Typically, April 14th, tomorrow would have been the normal deadline for when you would file taxes, and that gives the State Tax Commission a really good idea of where our budget's at. By this point, many, if not most people, have filed. That being said, we pushed the deadline back as the feds did. So we're filing our taxes now in June or July. So there won't be a really good idea until May on terms of what's happening to the state budget and where our taxes are at that point. So could they take back money? Yes, they absolutely. And I would say at this point, it's quite an unprecedented time. All money's on the table. So I think we just have to proceed as normal until it is no longer the norm. We are trying to be cautious, and we've asked all of the schools to hold on issuing any statements about raises or bonuses for teachers and specialists, because we do not know if that 6% bump that we got that would go directly to the pot of money that school districts and charters can use for raises. We don't know if that will continue to exist or if it will be modified or go all the way. But Bruce, you've got
You can tell Bruce is retiring because his comments here.
Bruce, I won't
brave.
comment on that, but I would definitely encourage you to write your local officials and let them know. That is definitely one idea. So with that, Jody, we can kind of click through, jumping down to slide 14, and it states safe and healthy schools. Starts with, I've got 4 bills on it. And if there's any, yeah, keep going. And if there's any bill or funding question you all have, put it in the chat. We'll try and answer it. Otherwise, I'm going to just jump to the things that I assume this group would be most interested in. Actually, let's quickly jump back to one slide for the school leadership bill. This is just out there for anyone who might be interested in becoming a principal. If this is something that's on your radar, sorry, I was like looking up at the screen because I see so many of your faces, but I should probably look at the camera. So Senate Bill 99 essentially creates a principal training program for aspiring principals, new principals within their first 3 years, and existing principals. And it will give school districts and charter schools money to create a local version. The state board will set kind of the floor of the parameters of the program, but then the locals will be able to kind of create their own program with the money we provide to residencies for aspiring
He has a
principals.
mic not muted, huh? Leave it.
We're good. Okay. So aspiring principals, there would be money that they could use to give you internship and residency opportunities if that's something that's on your radar. If you become a new principal, it'll provide a mentorship program as well as funding for certification. And then existing principals will also get professional development money. So I just wanted to highlight that in case any of you have hopes and dreams and are thinking maybe a principal, becoming a principal, something you want to do, that is an option that's out there. But we'll jump to the next slide. I'm going to assume that this group has feelings about,
No,
nope,
wait,
no, safe and healthy. Yep,
I was right. Okay.
perfect. So I assume that this group has a lot of feelings on the Safe and Healthy Schools initiative from the State Board of Education. So I'm going to highlight some of the things that I think would impact your job. I'm going to start with the bill that's not even on this slide. House Bill 97, the Safe Haven Bill. I wanted to make sure you all were aware of that. Jody actually made me aware that this impacted you.
Hey, I followed something you didn't. Whoop, whoop.
You did. You got me. As you health curriculum to teach about adoption laws in the state. House Bill 97 changed the safe haven rule so that instead of a 72-hour window that somebody can fit within to give up a newborn child, it is now 30 days. So just make note of that when you're teaching the safe haven part of adoption laws. It's now a 30-day window instead of a 72-hour window. That being said, now I'll jump into what's on the slide. And again, if there are any questions or thoughts about any part of the legislature or the legislative session you want me to cover, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to bounce around and make sure I cover all the things I think impact you. The biggest one on this slide I'm going to highlight is House Bill 58. It's the e-cigarettes in schools amendments. This bill does a number of things that is notable and will impact some of you directly. So the first thing that this bill does is it gives schools the power and authority to confiscate and destroy e-cigarette paraphernalia without having to return the paraphernalia to a parent, even if the property was technically the parents and the student brought it to the school. So this will give schools the legal backing. There's been a lot of questions over the years of what can and can I not do when I confiscate and find these things. It does encourage school districts to take the paraphernalia to law enforcement only when they suspect illegal substances are inside. If you don't suspect illegal substances are inside, law enforcement would actually prefer not to be involved, and you are now legally allowed to just destroy and move on with life. That's probably more exciting for administrators unless you become the point person in the school to do that. The next parts of these bills will probably directly impact a lot of you, as I imagine a lot of you will be brought in as these specialists that are highlighted in the bill. You might want to volunteer as one. So the next thing that this bill does is it requires every school to create a positive behavior plan and to select a staff member to be the positive behavior specialist. And the bill outlines what a positive behavior specialist would do. A lot of that is running peer support groups and clubs and programs. So think Hope Squad, Golden Gate Club, any of those types of peer support groups. And the great thing is, if you are the staff member chosen to be the positive behavior specialist for your school, you will get a $3,000 stipend every year that you do that. And you will get an additional $1,000 to use in creating the plan and buying supplies and materials to run the program that you're in charge of. So $3,000 for your pocket and $1,000 for materials and supplies for whatever your positive behavior plan says. So that is something I thought you all would be interested in knowing, because I suspect when it comes to some of this stuff that health and PE specialists get tapped to do these types of things. The great thing is if you do, you get $3,000. So that's nice. The other thing that this bill does that you should all be aware of is if you are in the elementary school grade level, This will impact you in that the Underage Drinking Prevention Program has now been renamed as the Underage Drinking Prevention and Substance Abuse Prevention Program. And it now requires that it be taught in grades 4 or 5, plus the secondary setting. So currently, this is usually accomplished by Botvin life skills in your health curriculum, and you usually knock the requirement out in incorporating it into your health curriculum in grade 7, 8, or 10, 11. You now have to also do it in 4 or 5. Botvin, we are currently in negotiation.
Jeff, I'm going to correct you. It's 7 or 8 and then 9 or 10 currently.
9 or 10.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I'm
Yes.
correcting you on that one. And we will be using Botvin life skills again in the grades 4 or 5. We'll do a new crosswalk. I've been talking to Clarissa Stebbing. She is the new prevention specialist over that has taken the lead on Botvin LST. But then we will do a new PRF in 2 years that will allow us to open and have another round of vendors apply, so that there can be more choices than Botvin if a district wants. So, I mean, if you, or charter, district or charter, if you like Botvin LST, keep using it. If you don't, then you will have another choice. And Jeff, we have a question. The bill number, is it all under House Bill 58?
This is all one bill. It was a big bill. Yep. Those are but that is House Bill 58. Those are the main components. If you do want a $3,000 stipend, you can volunteer as tribute for becoming the positive behavior specialist. And just be aware, grades 4 or 5, you will now be teaching substance abuse and drinking prevention.
They do anyway. It's part of their standards.
Perfect. Jody already had it covered. She's ahead of her time.
We have standards in elementary. We do.
So this hopefully will then be a seamless transition. That is probably one of the biggest bills I wanted to highlight. House Bill 323, I just wanted to let you all know, also exists. It allows your school district or charter to opt into the idea of, or not the idea, but actually administering mental health screeners. So just like you have vision screenings, at least in the elementary school setting, this would allow LEAs to do mental health screeners. It would be parental opt-in as well, so this would not be a requirement. But that is something that you might start seeing in your schools. House Bill 323. House Bill 171, it's now a crime to make a threat against a school, even if the threat is a hoax. So you might want to encourage your students to move away from thinking they're being funny when they call in that bomb threat to, the front desk, because it will now be a misdemeanor. And Bruce, I'm with you. I need a screener myself. And then House Bill 16 requires all local boards and governing authorities of charters to review if the school is serving breakfast, and if they are not, why they are not. And Jody, you want to jump to the next slide really fast? This is the second slide of the Safe and Healthy Schools.
Kirsty, yes, Botvin is still in high schools. It's just additionally going to start in elementary school. And then the comment, Katie, yeah, I know it's not necessarily taught, but these new standards are much easier to teach than the old ones. Instead of having to do 100 standards in elementary, they're only having to do about 20. So we're hoping that with them being much simpler, we can and now they vertically align instead of repeating, because the old standards were so repetitive. These new ones vertically align. We actually are adding content, kind of like math, right? We count, then we add, then we subtract, multiply, divide, algebra. I know I made that really more simple than it is. But health is going to do the same thing. So we start really small and we keep getting bigger ideas. So by skipping grades, it really is going to hurt students because they don't get that again. And thank you, Bruce. I think the core is great as well. I think that these new standards have been a huge improvement. Responsible is the classroom teacher. They are responsible.
Great. I just wanted to quickly highlight on this slide, House Bill 222 is the breakfast bill. You may have all heard on Twitter and in the news. Unfortunate comments may have been made by some senators in a committee. It passed. So this will now, it's called the Start Smart Utah Breakfast Program. It will now require that if you have a certain percentage of your school on free and reduced lunch or higher, you will have to make sure that breakfast continues after the bell has rung so that it's available when the students are in session. And Jody, if we can jump down to the very end, I'll highlight one more bill that Jody is now the specialist on and which she didn't even know. I'm on slide.
Happens every year. It's fine. I don't know which one's the last one. You're going to have to tell me.
Keep going. It says notable education bills miscellaneous. So it's past all of these things. And if we're passing things and you see something, you're like, what's that? Put it in the chat. You can see this presentation will only take 2 hours if we.
This is the right one, isn't it? 58?
Yeah, that's the one. Senate Bill 58. Yes, I wanted to quickly highlight this for any of you that are coaches out there. Just be aware of this bill. It is called a uniform law. So out there are organizations nationwide that create what we call uniform laws. Like this is what this organization thinks every state's will and trust law should be, or criminal laws should be. And if you, as a state, you can copy and paste and make it your law. We did that in this case when it came to athlete agent behavior. So if you have a really star athlete, it is now going to, there's now some regulations around endorsements and sponsorships that the athlete can and cannot receive from a recruiter or other athlete agent. So this really limits the ability of those agents to take back families and gifts and sponsorships and all of that. So just be aware that that's out there. So if you encounter students coming to you being like, oh my gosh, this LSU has come and they're offering me like a new car if I consider them when I get recruited. Sorry, my dog is huffing. Wow. So that is now going to be illegal on some levels. So just be aware of that. I wanted to make sure that any of you who are coaches are aware that exists. You might want to make your students aware that they need to be careful with what they accept. It might now be illegal. So with that, I'll stop. I've gone 6 minutes over. There's so many things I could cover. I didn't even touch all the employment bills that impact teacher employment, but there's a lot out there. So if you want more information, if you want to scroll to the next couple slides, Jody, for anyone who's out there and loves to self-educate, next slide, that one. We have, jump up one. We have a legislative guide. The URL I'll send to Jody so that you can click on it. It is a summary of every education bill that passed this session and what it does in a nutshell. So if any of you are curious and you want to read, 60 pages of legislative geekness, we got otherwise, I will stop, and if there are any other questions, let me know. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Jess. It was awesome to see you on camera for a moment. Your camera kind of went in and out on my end, but it was so great to see someone. Yay. We have a question. What exactly would the positive behavior specialist do? And then like PBIS.
Let me quickly pull up the bill for you. I'll tell you exactly what the bill says so that you can.
I have a typo on there. Sorry, let's see, where is that one? Let's see.
It's further up it's the first safe and healthy schools slide. I will pull this up really quick. Thank you, Jane.
Randy, I'm not sure what you're asking. This is something I know I can answer. I'm just not entirely sure what you're asking here. Will there be a Bothan Elementary program component available for elementary teachers to teach? Like the books, Randy? I guess yes or no. Do you mean like the workbook like middle school and high school have? Can you hear me? Yes.
Oh, I just never have taught in the Botman, so I wasn't sure if you had something that we can use or do, or how do we go about
Yeah,
doing that?
so the teachers will go to a kind of a training, and I don't know how they're going to do it for every fourth or fifth grade teacher. That's a lot of teachers. But when you're done, you get a guide or like a workbook. There's a teacher book, and then there's usually a student manual, and the students get to keep them. It's kind of like a journal. They write in it. They use it and then the teachers have like a curriculum book, and it is like literally the script for the teacher. So it's quite easy. Kylan, sorry, I can read. I just apparently can't speak. Can I blame it on being 8 months pregnant, Kylan? It is not optional. It is still required. They're adding the requirement down to fourth or fifth grade. So now it's going to be fourth or fifth, seventh or eighth, and ninth or 10th. So students will get Botman life skills 3 times. Yes, they could, Allie. Your counselors, social workers, psychs could teach it. It just has to be offered. Just like Botman life skills right now, it doesn't have to be in health. Nowhere in the law does it ever say that it has to be in health. It says that it has to be taught in the grades. Somebody else's mic is on, and I hear myself. So if your mic is on, if you can please mute it. Otherwise, I'll have to find you and mute you, and that takes me a second. It has to be offered. We have some schools that put it in science. We have some schools that put it in the CCA class for 7th grade. It just has to be. It has to be a course that every 7th or 8th or 9th or 10th take, and now it'll be the same thing 4th or 5th. So hopefully, Allie, that answered your question. It could be a counselor in elementary.
Jody?
Yes. Yes,
Is
that's
this
Allie, isn't it?
Lindsay?
Oh, that is Lindsay's voice. Okay. Hi, Lindsay.
Hi. So this is starting in the fall that this goes into effect.
Jeff, do you know that answer?
The answer is yes. This bill goes into effect May 12th. So you would need to begin doing this in the fall.
Which means, so I guess my concern is we're now asking teachers to teach something they haven't had training in, and then we're going to hold them accountable for it. Or a school district is going to be accountable through assurance. I'm just making sure I understand the logic in that.
Yes. I can't speak for why the representative decided to make it effective immediately versus give it a year. I do think if the feedback I'm hearing is there's concern, especially if we can blame some of it on COVID, there's some opportunities perhaps to seek a year reprieve due to COVID and especially getting the training out. I think to your point, it's going to be hard to get that training out to teachers in an exclusively online format so that they're ready by the fall. So I will take that feedback back. I make no promises.
And I am not as high on the ladder as Jeff is, so I can speak a little more candidly. I don't think that they had. Well, one, how do you plan for COVID-19, right? Like you can't plan for that. You can't plan that you don't have the ability to have training. I also think that they didn't realize the scope, the quantity of teachers that would need to be trained in schools. Every 4th and 5th grade teacher is a lot more teachers than every health teacher. So I don't think that was really taken into account. That's my personal feedback on that, Jeff. That's a lot of teachers to have to train in order for us to now tell LEAs that they have to have this on their assurance forms. I mean, part of me, there's a selfish part of me that's like, woohoo, they have to teach something in health. But this is a huge ask to do in a very, very short amount of time, especially where we're scrambling so much right now. So if that is feedback that we can, like, let's pilot it, like we did health standards, right? They had a year of piloting. This school year is their pilot year where they can use them, but they don't have to. So maybe we do the same thing. Hey, if you can get teachers trained, let's start. But by 21, 22, you have to.
Up the chain and see if we can get some kind of waiver maybe in the special session on Thursday, or the blessing of the sponsor of the bill. I mean, if Representative Pulsver in particular, if she is fine with us delaying for, then we can also probably just softly ramp it up. The bill, as I'm looking at the other screen, it does actually say beginning with the 2021 school year. So it specifically called out they wanted it to start in the fall, which I might actually be to our benefit. We can point that out as a timeline that now has been disrupted by the current circumstances.
And I think it's a valid concern.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I did want to quickly highlight what a positive behavior specialist has to do. And the positive behavior plan, it's all connected. So a school principal shall create a positive behavior plan with input of student, parents, and staff. Submit the plan to the governing board, so either the local board or the governing authority if you're a charter, for approval. The plan shall address issues, including, and say address issues, this is where I see the positive behavior specialist coming in, as you would have to enact the plan. So including peer pressure, mental health, creating meaningful relationships, may include programs, clubs, service opportunities, and pro-social activities. You'll have, then a positive behavior specialist will be chosen, get $3,000 to enact the plan. And you do, if you are the specialist, have to annually submit a written report to the LEA, or the school district or charter governing boards or the governing authority, detailing how the plan was implemented. You'll have to do a plan implementation report every year. And Kim, yes, a counselor could do this. It does not specify it has to be a teacher. It just says they have to appoint someone in the school. It can be any staff member. You know someone who's great and you want to make sure it's not you, maybe you can offer someone up as a nominee. Great. Well, I have nothing else for now. Please send me emails or thoughts if you have any. What school bill is this? House Bill 58.
And again, you'll get all of Jeff's slides. Each of you will get it in your, you'll get it in your Google folders that you all have access to the folder now, but you will get the slides as soon as this meeting's over.
And there's a whole lot there to cover, so email me.
Thank you, Jeff. It's always so lovely to see you and hear from you.
Likewise. Thank you guys. Bye-bye.
Okay, Nate, you are up.
Can you hear me?
I do hear you.
All right. Well, I will go ahead and get started. I'll make it quick. Everybody, I'm Nate. This is the first time I've ever been able to join you here on this call. I'm the Associate Dean of Exercise Science at the Salt Lake Community College. And I wanted to, I had some conversations with Jody about some work we've been working on. It's probably, we're going on 2 years now, I think, really, a year and a half, 2 years to roll this particular offering out. And Jody was kind enough to let me come on today and kind of share the work that we've been working on around how we can help increase health and PE endorsements for the state. So what we've done is the community college has partnered with USBE. We're offering courses for health and PE endorsements. Our goal is to increase the opportunities for teachers to be able to get these endorsements and add them to their repertoire. So our goal is to get the courses needed within 1 semester for demonstrating competency, and if you need to complete all of the university professional development within 2 semesters. So these are courses that meet the needs for K-12 teachers. And we're going to be delivering the courses in 3 formats. One is going to be a purely online format where all of the course content can be taken completely online. The other format we're using for the major theory and pedagogy. And then we're having.
Okay. I lost your sound for a second, but I think maybe it was just on my end.
Okay.
Oh, Nope, someone else is asking you to repeat. We all lost your sound for just a second.
Okay. So the deliverables, we're offering the courses in 3 formats. One format is completely online, and then one format is a hybrid version where we're splitting the courses where 80% of the course is online, and then we're having essentially 20% of the course via 2 6 to 8 hour days where we're actually bringing students in and actually demonstrating competency within a classroom environment with our faculty. So our goal is to really make it doable for teachers who are teaching and are looking for this content. And then the last section of type of course we offer is a lecture. This is going to be for different courses like exercise physiology, where really we're going to have you come in and take night classes for that. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so go ahead and go to the next slide. So just a quick recap, how do we get started? You need to become an official student at SLCC, and Jody's going to get you these slides. So you click on that link, become a student, you can register for the courses, and then you get to log in and have fun. Next slide, please. So I wanted to do a quick breakdown of costs. I know that this is always a concern. And so this currently isn't being offsetted by our institution. It doesn't necessarily mean that there are different school districts that could help offset the cost of this, but I just wanted to be upfront. So if you were to do the health endorsement, it's 11 credits. It's about $1,600. If you were to do the PE endorsement, that's 8 credits, about $1,400. If you did the full completion, so you're looking at 17 credits, it's about $2,700. Looking for the PE endorsement, that's about 20 credits. That's about $3,500. If you combine both courses, where you get them both done at the same time, really, if you're looking at bang for your buck, that's about $4,000 give or take. I've done some research, and this is in my area, everybody. But so the way I understand it is that you can accrue higher ed credits, and then that leads to lane changes. And so typically what I understand is a lane change is about 20 credits of college credit. And typically a salary bump for a lane change is around $1,700. So if you look at the cost benefit ratio.
That does depend on the school, the district or charter, on what their kind of pay is. Some count the credits, some don't. It's completely local control.
Yeah, and that's where I'm hoping to give a very transparent picture of what the cost would be if you come to the Salt Lake Community College to get this done.
There's a question, does Salt Lake Community College offer upper division credit? Who will be teaching these courses?
So we're not allowed to offer upper division credit. We've got the pedagogy courses approved through USBE, so they are the same. So other institutions, they are upper division, but because of what we're trying to do with getting the health endorsements and P endorsements done for our teachers, we've got permission. We have our faculty members who, one of them actually has his master's degree in pedagogy, and the other has his master's degree in teaching and pedagogy and PE. So we have individuals that have done this, and they're pretty good at the idea of how do we talk about theory and implementation of theory. We can go ahead and go to the next slide. So I wanted to break down, and this is all available on this link that Jody has produced for all of us. So I just wanted to break down and give you a quick overview of the course sections that you would need to take if you were to come to the community college to get it done, and essentially whether it's online or in person. So if we do the completion of university and professional development courses, which is the full gauntlet per se, all of the courses except for all of the courses are going to be either hybrid or online for individuals that want to take it. So there's the core set of courses that you need to take. And the demonstrating competency, again, we're going to have all of those be online or hybrid. The only course that isn't in our department is the human sexuality course.
Sorry, I don't know what I just did.
Oh, no, you're fine. Which is taught out of a different department. So I don't have a lot of control over that. But our goal is to really increase our ability to help teachers get this done. We go to the next one.
Yeah.
And then that's the health endorsement and then the PE endorsement. And I'll let you look over that if you're interested in this later. I wanted to try to get content out for people. The next slide. So this is just a quick condensed version of the courses if you want to take them here at the community college, what courses you would take from the foundations of physical ed all the way to first aid and safety. I don't know if we want to stay here and talk about these courses, or we can keep progressing. Let's go ahead and keep
We
going.
don't have any questions. So I guess let me really kind of clarify for some people that are like, why are you telling me this? If you are an administrator and you're on this, right, you might hire someone who maybe doesn't have their full endorsement. It's really hard right now for teachers to earn a health or PE endorsement if they're not going through my summer courses. And the USBE summer courses that I'm offering, I have to kind of really bid to get the funding to do that. I'm the last content that still does it. No other math, it's all through universities. And our universities are great. They have amazing classes and programs, and I 100% support them. And the issue is, especially when we get to the methods classes, they're only available during the school day and during fall or spring. So our teachers that are adding a health or PE endorsement, or maybe it's a new teacher and they're just not quite there, they don't have the ability to get endorsed. There's not a path because they can't do it through the universities. They can't, the schedules aren't there. They can't work with them. Now their programs are amazing if you are a college student, right? They are great programs. When you're done with college and you're adding on an endorsement, it's really hard, which is why I've been able every year to get the funding to offer summer courses to get our teachers endorsed. Salt Lake Community College has found an additional path because, again, my classes fill up. I don't have the capacity to endorse all of the teachers that are trying. So we have all these teachers each year that don't make it into the class. They're on the wait list and they never get in. Salt Lake Community College has come up with a solution for us that will help our teachers become endorsed so we can have more qualified health and PE teachers in the state.
And just kind of add to that, Jody and I have had this conversation, and that's the reason why we created this particular path. We know that it's not going to be a huge flow of students, but if we can help really increase the number of PE and health educators we have, we're all for it. One more kind of caveat is we're also trying to offer this course in what we call a self-paced, or it's a new version of course that we're offering at the college level, where really you can enroll in the 15-week, in the 12-week, or an 8-week version of the course. And as long as you get the content done and demonstrate competency, you can complete the course at your own pace, which is kind of nice as well. We can go to the next slide. So this is our goal, to try to offer the courses. So each semester we're trying to offer the necessary courses that you're going to need to do. You could combine them up and do both at the same time, or you could split them up and do them in separate tracks. But within an academic cycle, you should be able to completely finish both or one of the endorsements. I'm going to go ahead and answer that question. How do students demonstrate competency? We're currently, we have labs. So because they're hybrid, we're going to have 2 days where we'll have working with the homeschool network. And I don't know how to say this properly. So we're inviting a number of homeschool kids to come in and develop and deliver pedagogy skills. And this is where I have to have the teachers talk about what it is exactly that you produce. But that's where you would actually demonstrate competency in an actual environment with our kids. All right, next slide.
Let's see. Is there a shortage of health and PE teachers in the state? I thought the shortage was mostly core teachers. I think that individual schools end up with shortages. We have teachers that retire every year. We have teachers that move to a different state, or they quit the profession. And that's where, and I know every year I've had some of our our districts and some of our charters reach out and they're like, hey, I can't find a teacher, or I can't find a qualified teacher is really the big one. We also have a lot of people that shift, or the school population changes, and so you need a teacher that's maybe teaching math. We'll pick on math. I like picking on math because they get all the credit for everything, right? And maybe that teacher teaches math, but maybe they coach too, but they don't have enough credits or course requirements done to, Bruce, we retire every year. Yeah, you're retiring. Rub it in. We know. For those of you who don't know Bruce, he is the specialist over Salt Lake City School District, and he is leaving us after like 35 years. Is that right, Bruce? 35? So we have these gaps where we might need a teacher to teach 1 or 2 class periods, but they're not endorsed, and they need to become endorsed. So that's why this is really is a need. And I have probably 100 or so applicants active that are earning their endorsements every year.
And I think I'm on my last slide. We can go one more, and I think I'm done with my slide set.
Bruce, you were someone's elementary PE teacher in here, and I don't know who it is because it's a number and not a name, but that's how old you are, Bruce. You were somebody's elementary PE teacher who is now either a teacher or administrator, so great job. Sorry, Nate, for interrupting your...
You're good. So some of the caveats that we have of offering courses, we built this path specifically for the USBE, and so one of the things that we have to work around is the caveat of enrollment. If we don't have enough enrollment, we can't offer the courses. And so that's kind of, so we have that schedule that I showed you on the previous slide, which really is a smooth way to get everything done in an online environment for the most part. And then you come in a couple times, demonstrate competency in real life. I saw, yeah, we do video lesson plans and stuff like that as well on the curriculum. But so that's the one issue we have. Our institutional standard right now is 13 students per section per semester. So I know that we can dip as low as 8, but in order for me to really successfully be able to consistently offer these courses, we need approximately 8 people per semester per course to really run them. These are offered current right now. They're on the docket. So you want to enroll, please enroll. And then, like I said here, we're offering what we call competency-based learning. I'm trying to make this as attainable as possible for our teachers. So which means you can enroll in the traditional 15, 12, or 8-week time frame. You still have to cover all the content, but it gives you the time to kind of pick how fast you want to bust it out. I think that's my last slide. Yeah, and then this is just another set of programs that are also offered. So we're excited to partner up. If there's something that you feel like we can do to do a better job to support you, grateful for everything you all do. You know that we're in this together. So thank you for everything, and I'm glad to be hanging out with you today.
Great. Thanks so much, Nate. There was another comment. I agree. I do hope that offering these other routes absolutely raises the quality of health teachers. I know I have a huge bias, but I don't think that there's a class that's more important than health education. I obviously I taught it for years, and the activity is physical health is so important, but so is suicide prevention, substance abuse prevention, STD prevention, teaching kids CPR. And these are skills that are life-saving skills. So having a high-quality health education teachers in our schools, I think, is more important than most of the other knowledge things that we can teach kids. I mean, we're teaching life, and I just obviously have a huge passion on that one and can talk about it for hours. So thank you so much, Nate, for taking the time to kind of give that information. Nicole, thank you. But you are so great and have been so awesome to work with. I really appreciate all you're doing for our teachers. Okay, let's see. Bridget and Dr. Wu, you are up. Let me see if, oh, and Nate got a couple thank yous in the chat. See if I can find you, Bridget. Okay, Bridget, you are unmuted. Dr. Wu, I'm looking. I don't know if you can unmute yourself or.
I think I just did. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, yes, I hear you. Yep. Okay.
Great. Wonderful. Well, thank you all so much for having us, and hope everyone is staying healthy and doing okay out there. My name is Yelena Wu, and I'm at the Huntsman Cancer Institute. I'm a psychologist and a behavioral scientist there. And we're here today to just talk for a few minutes about a new project that we just had funded by the National Cancer Institute. I'm joined by Bridget Parsons, who will be talking today also. Bridget is our lead coordinator on our team for research. So this opportunity, we're calling it the SHINE program. And this is a program that's focusing on skin cancer prevention, especially for high school students. For those of you who teach students in other grades, I'll come back towards the end about how you could still get in touch with us or other teams at the Huntsman Cancer Institute for programming for your students. If you have any questions during this, I know people have been using the chat box, feel free to type them in there. And if we don't see there as we're going along, we'll make sure to come back towards the end to those questions. Many of you have provided letters of support or participated with us before in collaboration on the SUN program. And so we just wanted to start by thanking everyone who has done that, and we'll have a slide about that later. But we were successful in getting funding to now be able to provide the skin cancer prevention education in high schools throughout the entire state of Utah. And so we're really excited about that. Just to begin with, here we just have some very brief background. As many of you know, skin cancer is one of the most common cancers in teenagers and young adults. And here in Utah, we have the unfortunate sort of first place of having the highest incidence of melanoma, the most deadly skin cancer in the entire country. And although melanoma doesn't necessarily happen to all of our teens, which is a good thing, we know that protecting them at this age is so important for preventing skin cancers, including melanoma down the road. And we know that unfortunately that many teenagers do engage in risky behaviors, including intentional tanning, both in tanning salons and also even just laying out outside, or potentially just not using sunscreen and other forms of protection when they could be when they're outside. Our program is designed to address a couple of the newer core state standards for health that are listed here. And so this really focuses on skin cancer prevention in ways that teens and children of all ages can start protecting themselves. Next slide, please. So today, like I mentioned, we're going to be talking about this SHINE program, which is a research study that's focused on high school students. And Bridget will talk you through a couple of the different components of what this could look like in your classroom.
So I think this is just kind of an overview of what we'll go through in the next couple of slides, that all of these different activities that could be provided to students in your classes to further this goal of providing skin cancer education. So you can go on to the next one, Jody. So like Dr. Wu mentioned, SHINE is designed based on a pilot study we did a few years back that was called SUN, that some of you might recognize. We wanted to give a special shout out to these 4 districts who participated with us and partnered with us in that study. So that study really allowed us to test the educational and intervention components that we're using in SHINE, and ultimately has made it possible to get additional funding to expand the program across the state. So we're just really grateful. Go on again. So one thing that students could receive as part of this program is a photo of their own face that's taken with a UV camera. So that's what you see here on the left. So that camera takes photo in both normal and UV light, and then provides a side-by-side comparison. So like you see on the right, that's my face. And you can see on the left side of the photo, it's just a normal picture. You can't really see any super obvious skin damage at this point, but on the right, you can see all of those dark spots indicate skin damage that I do have. You just can't see it on the outside of my skin. So the idea is to show students that although they're young and right now their skin probably looks pretty healthy on the outside, it's still possible to have skin damage beneath the surface of your skin. And that damage becomes more apparent on the outside as you age. And we really emphasize with students as well that that damage is irreversible. So it's really important to start preventing your skin or protecting your skin and preventing additional damage while you're young. And in sun, that pilot study, we did find that students who received their UV photo tanned and sunburned less than students who didn't get their UV photo. And you can go on to the next slide, Jody. Another activity students could complete is an intention setting worksheet. So it's basically, you see on the slide here in a worksheet form that we ask students to come up with a plan for themselves when they will do some protective behaviors. So whatever they choose out of this list, they then think through the details of when and where they'll do that behavior and what they need to do to make that behavior happen. So for example, they might choose something like wearing sunscreen, and they might want to do it after school, during soccer practice, and then to make that happen, they might say something like, I need to put a bottle of sunscreen in my soccer bag. So it seems kind of simple, but having students think through the details of what they actually need to do to engage in these behaviors better, we found in Sun at least to be, so students who completed this intention setting activity did increase their use of sun protection behaviors. Go on to the next slide. And so then the last thing I want to talk about that students might participate in, we might ask some students to wear a device that measures your UV exposure. This is what it looks like. It just clips onto your clothing, or you can even clip it onto like a watch or your sunglasses or a hat. And so it's basically similar to a fitness tracker, kind of like a Fitbit, and it gives us an objective measure of how much sun exposure someone is getting, which is really useful because it can be hard to accurately assess how much sun exposure you're getting. Like things like elevation and weather can play a big part in UV exposure. So having an objective way of knowing how much UV exposure someone's getting really helps us accurately assess what kind of impact our education and intervention efforts are having students on behaviors. And then I think we just have one more slide.
Yeah, next slide would be great.
There we go.
Thank you. I think this is our last slide. So thanks so much, Bridget. So if any of you, I think some of you we've already started getting in touch with, but then COVID-19 happened to all of us. And so we're all dealing with that. But just so you know, this is a program that we'll be able to offer over the next 4 to 5 years. And we can only enroll so many schools every year just because of our personnel limitations. And so we would come out to the school to provide the types of interventions and programs that Bridget just described. And we'll be able to do that every year for the next 4 years, as I mentioned. If you're interested in having us come to your school, please feel free to email us either through our shine@hci.utah.edu email or our personal emails, and we will get back to you soon. Besides the actual delivery of the program, we will also ask your students to complete several questionnaires over time. We're designing those to be delivered electronically to minimize disruption to your classes. And so that's a little bit different than the SUN program if you participated in that with us. We are curious to see over time how things go with COVID. We're thinking about whether we could move some of this material online as opposed to only having it in class. So we'll see how that develops. But just know that we are continuing to work on this, but also want to work within the restrictions that we all might be working into. For those of you who either choose not to participate in this program or teach students of other grades, middle school, junior high, elementary school, Garrett Harding, who's I believe on this call with us, leads our community outreach team at the Huntsman Cancer Institute, and his team does provide other presentations to health classes and to students of all ages. And so please feel free to get in touch with us at any point, and we're happy to figure out whether our team versus Garrett's team or some other resource might be useful to you in your health teaching. If there are any questions, I can make sure to take those. And yes, right now it is only a program for high schools, Katie.
Yeah, I'll add on to Garrett, what kind of he's done. With these new health standards that, we've mentioned a few times, Garrett gave us a lot of resources that we put into those guides that are in each grade. And we have, there's almost every grade, there is something from Huntsman Cancer Institute that will tie to the standards that we can use the resources. And I believe they're all at no cost to the schools. Am I correct on that, Dr. Wu?
Yes,
Yeah.
certainly our program is at no cost to schools. And so, I mean, I guess time is the main cost, but our personnel would come in and we provide all the materials. And so one piece of feedback that we heard from teachers through our SUN program was that they loved having outside people come in, and that we provided everything. And it's also met, what their teaching goals and now the standards too.
And as much as teachers love, oh, Garrett, I think that you were trying to speak a second ago. As much as our students love teachers and they trust everything we do, sometimes I think expert so much more believable and so much more valid. And I think we validate ourselves as teachers too, right? We tell the students, but then when we have someone from Huntsman Cancer Institute, it's like, oh, wow, the teacher's really telling the truth. They're not lying, or they're not just giving us what they want us to do. So we have a question. How long is the program? How much time does it take?
Yes, I saw that, and also Kurt's question about coming to rural areas. So I'll start with the how long is the program. So right now, I'm assuming we're in the classroom.
Carbon School District, if that helps you.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. So in terms of the program, it would be 2 class periods that we would be coming in to deliver the educational information. So those different components would be possibilities, the ones that Bridget just presented. And then the questionnaires are before and after the program, and even 1 year after. We want to see, and no one has ever looked at this before, if we provide education like this, does it actually make a difference in our teens' behaviors a whole year later? And so, as I mentioned, those would all be electronically delivered questionnaires, potentially outside of class time, and they probably wouldn't be in your health class the following year anyways. So really the core time commitment is 2 class periods. Will we come to rural areas, to your question, Kurt, including Carbon County? Yes. I should have mentioned that one of our focuses for this project is to be able to go to all areas of Utah, including rural areas. One thing that we learned from our SUN program is that there are some real differences that we see even before the program in terms of what kinds of sun protection behaviors students in rural areas versus urban areas are doing. And we're really interested to see if this program might affect students differently in rural and urban areas. And so that is actually one of our main goals, and we built in funding to be able to come out to those areas.
And Dr., would you see the question about online?
Yes. So right now, this program, the SHINE program I'm talking about, is not able to be delivered online because some of our components are only able to be delivered in person. But that is something, especially with COVID-19, that we're particularly driven to try to modify, whether for this program or for other ones in the future. So we are going to begin working on that very soon. I don't know, Garrett, if there are any programs through the Huntsman Cancer Institute that would be able to be delivered online that you could speak to.
Yeah, I think, we're currently in the process of assessing what our presentations look like, both from an in-person and a virtual online perspective. And so I would just say, please be in touch, with the team here if there's anything that you feel you would benefit from. We're looking at adapting and using all of this technology, just like everybody else is, in all these different ways. And so I think we anticipate by fall we'll be able to have a program set up where we can do a lot of virtual education.
I know somebody asked about where they can get a face scan. So on a very practical level, if you ever find yourself here in Salt Lake City, or if we come out to the schools and you're interested in having your face scanned, we'd be happy to do that. One of our collaborators on this program, who is here at the University of Utah, owns that device that Bridget showed a picture of. That equipment is called the Visia, VISIA, and it is something that you can purchase online. It is unfortunately very expensive right now. I think the last time we asked for a quote, it was close to $10,000 or maybe even a little bit more. And so this is why we have one piece of that equipment and then we bring it to all the schools. And so, but if you are ever here or interested in having your face scan when we're there, we're happy to do that with you.
There's a question about the younger ages. Where do you find the information? If you go onto the health education website, which is schools.utah.gov, and I can put these in your Google Drive too. /CURR, so it's like short for curriculum, /health. So schools.utah.gov/CURR/health. You'll come to the health education webpage. If you go to core standards, there's a tab on there, Utah Core Standards, and at the bottom there are the core guides. Eventually, those ones next month are going to go away. The board voted last month to not have any links on our core guides, so we are going to put all of those on UEN, but there is a link on that same UEN. So UEN all these and resource guides because they have the resources. So UEN already has all of the ones that I currently have on their web page. So you can find all these resources on UEN. Also on the health education page, there's a tab called Resources. The Resources page has a section for every strand. So there is like an accordion. I'm talking with my hands, like you guys can see my hands. There's an accordion kind of opens up. And one of them is safety and disease prevention. There's a link to Huntsman Cancer Institute resources there as well. So you can either go to UEN and find the resource guides. And again, there's a link that takes you directly there. Or you can go to the resource tab on the health education page and get it. The Huntsman Cancer Institute resources for the standards there. The beauty of the resource guides is it links the resource directly to the standard that you're talking about. So if we had a 5th grade standard on sun safety, which we do, by the way, then there's a resource that directly links to that standard to help the teacher with the content on how to teach. Now, it's not curriculum. When most of these resources, it isn't a step-by-step, here's how you're going to teach this. Most of the time, it is the content so that now the teacher can still design their lesson however they want to locally. We're not telling you how to teach everything. We don't want to micromanage your instruction. You need some autonomy in your classroom for that. But we do want you to have up-to-date current information, and that's where Huntsman Cancer Institute has come in, is they're really helping us with that current information. When we get into high school, we have some of the reproductive cancers, and again, we're using Huntsman Cancer Institute research and recommendations on screenings and timing of screenings and when you see a doctor, when you don't. But we're using their information because they have so much better up-to-date information than what a lot of us learned in school. I mean, I think most of us were in college learning this stuff decades ago. I'm dating myself. But we learned it so long ago and recommendations changed. So having this current information linked to our standards, I think, is really beneficial to our students. Oh, I am cutting out. Yes, I will type in the URL. Okay. Any other questions from anyone today? I don't hear anyone. Okay. Oh, I did that privately. Sorry, let me get to everyone. Okay, Dr. Wu, does anyone have any more questions for Dr. Wu? Okay. There, now everyone has the link. Okay, I am moving on. Maybe. There we go. Okay. We are going to start with kind of the big one, and this one might take the most time for us. If you can't hear me, please type if this has gone silent. So the biggest thing is we need to remember that we are still responsible to teach all the standards. If we are talking about high school students and we are talking about, you know what, this is too hard, I'm not going to do it online, we're going to skip it. What is the outcome or the consequence of not teaching students adoption law? How refusal skills, how to report a rape, dating violence prevention, STD prevention. I mean, these are big things that really could impact the rest of their lives. So at your local administrative level, we really need to come up with a plan on what is the best way to offer this strand of health standards to our students through an online forum. I have created a fillable consent form. So that means that it's a PDF that you can type into, or the parents can type into, right? So we can type in the student name, they can digitally sign it, they could print it and sign it and scan it back to you, they can print it, sign it, take a picture and give it to you. You need to keep that file at your teachers. Sorry, let me be really specific here. The health teachers need to keep that online for 2 years. You can use modules, worksheets, media, but you only give that to the students that that got the parental consent form back. For the parents who don't sign it, send it to the parents. Send the content to the parents, and if they want to teach it, maybe they don't, but they at least have the choice. Adoption, yes. Sorry, I'm getting questions really quickly, so let me kind of come back. How are we supposed to teach all the standards if we only have a maximum 20-minute content each day? 20 minutes is a local, that's local. So I guess my suggestion on that one is do your best. I know I have middle school students, and they are not sticking to the 20 minutes a day in each content for sure, which is fine. I mean, this is a school, right? I'm my 9th grader. I want her to learn. I want her to learn the standards. And some days she has 10 minutes of work in a class. Some days she has an hour. And that's just the way it's working. And we're making it work. Adoption law, if your school is teaching health in 7th grade, safe haven adoption has to be taught in 7th or 8th, and again in 9th or 10th. It is taught so in Health 1 and again in Health 2. Again, the standards have it in there. So if you're following your core standards, you'll see where adoption is. Okay, send out the forms. Do we have to do this if we already have one on file? If you already have the consent form back, then no, you don't have to do it again. This is just for those that didn't have a chance to get who did not have the chance to get the parental consent forms out before we did our closure. If your LEA told you, then they are out of compliance and frankly breaking Utah code. Utah code is very specific that there are some things that shall, and shall's not a choice, be taught each year. One of those things is refusal skills, which is part of sex education. So you kind of don't have, so you need to come up with some adapted way. Now, you don't have to teach contraceptives. That's local control. If your LEA doesn't want to teach contraceptives, you don't have to. That is not something that you have to always do. You do have to teach some of the standards, though. You have to teach communicable diseases, so that's STDs. You have to teach refusal skills, but you don't have to teach about contraceptive devices. You can teach abstinence only. My recommendation on this is keep it simple. Come up with a district or charter-wide module that everyone is using the same thing. And maybe you find some quick videos on, where can the online, the same page, the health education page. I typed in the link earlier, and you go to sex education. Do we have the actual form, or can it be Google that says red form? Select the option they choose. Make sure that however they're signing it is, like, it was the parent and not like a kid. So it's coming back from the parent account. It's somehow time-stamped. But again, I don't care if it's scanned. I don't care if it's a photo. We don't care if it's digitally signed. It just has to be signed back. The problem with if you put it on a Google account, then how do you know who's getting it? I guess would be my question on that one back. Okay, I am going to be quiet for a minute and let you guys, we can either unmute and talk a little ask questions. If anyone has a really great solution, it was true. Email directly to parents. Yeah, it should be sorry. Oh my gosh, I can't talk. It should be emailed directly to the parent, and then the parent can email you back, and you just have to document that they've consented to their student receiving that education, or not. They can choose that they don't want to do it, and they can choose that they want to do it themselves. They can choose that, right? But what might be really hard is allowing students to not opt into one section. So if we're doing, a conception video, or the 9 months that made me is one that a lot of people use, and that's great. It might be really hard to select which students only get that and they don't get something else, right? So we might need to really have good conversations with our parents and let them know that it's going to be they are getting the information or they're not. And again, give it to the parents. Let the parents have more control on this one and have the conversations at home. Any other conversation before I move on? Okay, I'm getting a thanks. Okay, I am going to move on. We can come back to this. I just got 2 text. Oops, let's see. Worked with EdTech. Thank you for sharing what was working on that. Okay, Jeff Van Holt was talking about all the laws this year. I agree, Erica. Sorry, I'm bouncing. I do think this is a great conversation. And I mean, obviously there's a reason we teach it. We, as health educators, have background knowledge that makes us, I don't want to say smart, I don't know what the right word is. We just have the content knowledge that a parent has. I think some of us who have children have really realized that we are not great math teachers. Again, here I go with math. And there's a reason that there are math teachers. Well, there's a reason there's health teachers too. We've taken the college courses. We understand anatomy and physiology more than a lot of parents do. And we can give them the content. But I do absolutely think that these conversations, especially when we get into morals, which we can't teach in the classroom, I think that is a great thing that parents can have with their kids. And hopefully this is something that is going to be really helpful for parents and maybe foster some relationships. Okay, so Jeff emailed me back that House Bill 58, which is the underage drinking prevention for grades 4 or 5, has been added to the board's waiver request list. That means that what waiver means is that we are requesting a year. So if that helps. So it doesn't mean we get it. It means that it's on our request list. We are requesting a waiver to the legislators. Okay. I think we're ready to move on. I haven't seen any new comments for a while. If you come in, please mute your mic. We get a lot of background if you don't. Okay. Next is supplemental standards. So this is PE. Hey, we're going to talk about something other than health for a minute. Okay, so physical education. We have rules that require all courses for graduation have state standards. I think most of you are aware of that, right? We have core standards in every subject that is required for graduation credit. In physical education, that is 3 different courses. We have fitness for life, we have participation skills and techniques, individual lifetime activities. Sorry, I just got a question back from going back to, is it possible to use human sexuality portion online class for this year? Is it possible to use? think I'm understanding your question correctly, Chris. I'm sorry if I'm not, but I guess I don't understand what you mean use the human sexuality portion. Basically, the way things are going is we don't have a choice but to have that section online. We have to have it online. Okay, bouncing back to, unless Chris, I didn't answer your question and you wanna, current online course. Yeah, if your district has a current online course, keep using it. That's great if you already have something in place. I've been getting a lot of emails that no one has anything in place, and that's where we're scrambling. I've been getting emails, hey, do we still have to teach this because it's online and we can't do this online? The answer is no, you can make it online. And yes, you do have to teach it. It's required. Health has this interesting, able to have access to it. Yes, Chris, you can unmute yourself. You're unmuted.
Can you hear me? Okay, so I know that the Granite School District has online courses for health for high school and for middle school. They're already put together. And I was just wondering, especially for the human sexuality, since they've already put it together, standards, instead of us trying to recreate the wheel, is it possible that we could use those? I guess that would be to Jody.
So, okay, yes, it is possible to use them. Thank you, Lisa, for sharing what you have. So yes, it is possible to use them, and you can also use Hammond just shared. I think, did she share it to everyone? Oh no, she shared it to me. I'll drop, Lisa just shared 2 links. I can drop those into the Google folder that I've shared with all of you. Here's the thing though, if you aren't in the same district or charter that where materials are shared, your local board has to approve all material. And that's why, go back, on that last slide, the options are we have to create something at a district or charter level that all the teachers can use, because you can't use any material that hasn't been approved and adopted locally. So if you are in Alpine School District, you can only use material that Alpine School District has approved. If you're in Granite School District, you can only use material that Granite School District approved. If you're at American Preparatory Academy, you can only use their material. It doesn't mean that you can't adopt new material now. You can absolutely adopt new material, but you can't use it until it's been approved. Which is why the third bullet on this page over on the right side says procure existing, use what you already have. And then I guess the second one too, use your existing curriculum and just convert it to a web base or send packets to the parents. So you need to use what's already been approved. Okay, let's see. So how do we access Granite School District materials? I would defer to Jenny Grosh. I know she was on this call earlier. She is the Granite School District. I don't see Jenny on here anymore. So we actually are creating some online Canvas courses right now. But again, it has to be approved locally. Oh my gosh, there's a lot of chats. Hold on. Let me catch up. So again, going back to the resource guides that we were talking about with the sun safety, we have human development is what it's called because that's what the new strand is in the new standards. for sex education. So if you looked at the human development core guides or resource guides, you can see there's a ton of materials that can easily be used. Again, they have to be approved locally. Yeah, it would be easier if we created it from the top down. Unfortunately, I guess fortunately or unfortunately, it depends on your stance on this one, but the law is really clear that local districts and charters approve locally. So I can create things from the state level and have teachers create things, which is what we've done with the Canvas courses that we're creating and with the core guides that we already did create all last year. These were created by teachers, and we paid teachers to help create these, but it has to be approved locally. So anything I create at the state level, it's awesome, but if you don't use it, if your local district or charter doesn't approve it, you can't use it in your classroom. That's the same question. It is approved by which? Yep. Thank you, Lisa.
Jody, can I share what I provided for my assistant superintendent and then also for the superintendent of my district? I kind of made a spreadsheet of 4 options, also based upon what would happen with the rest of the school year. So the ideal would be after May 1st, we're returning and teachers would just teach it in as their last unit. If that was the case, then they would need to make sure they get their consent forms sent electronically now, and they could be returned electronically or hard copies printed. Then I went, well, we're not returning, and then here are 3 other options. And I'm still waiting for them to make a decision about what the best thing moving forward is. So that's what I did.
And for those of you that don't know who I is, this is Lindsay Backus, and Lindsay is in Provo School District. And she's the health administrator over in Provo School District. So if that helps any of you that are asking questions. If any of you are willing to share some of your stuff into that Google Drive that we shared, I'm happy to create a folder and I'll label it samples. But again, you have to let your local board approve them. Yeah, so Eva just said she's willing to share all of hers. So I'll create a folder. You guys all have access to it. I'll make it so that you can share. I'll make sure that the permissions are set so that everyone can share into that folder. And edit, I guess, is how I have to open that. I'll open up that folder so everyone can edit, and that way we have a forum where everyone is sharing materials. If you want, you don't have to, of course, but then please, 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 before any of you use it, you have to have your board approve it. And the law is so clear on that. Your local board and committee have to approve it. Okay. Chris, you just unmuted yourself. Would you like to add?
No, thank you.
Yep. It just kind of beeps in my ear when someone unmutes or comments. Okay. Thank you. I knew that conversation was going to be the lengthiest. It took a second to get y'all going, but I knew it was going to be the biggest portion of our conversation. Okay, although this one might be a close second place. Okay, back to graduation requirements. So again, this is 9th through 10th grade, or 9th through 10th. Oh my gosh, my brain's on health. Okay, 9th through 12th grade. These are our graduation requirements. So we have our 3 PE courses, which is 1.5 credits, and then we have health education, which is 0.5 credits, and that gives us our total of 2 credits. So every student has to have the 2 credits health PE. Again, 1.5 of them are in PE, 0.5 is in health. In order to earn graduation PE credit, you have to use state standards. So this is something that we've kind of fudged a lot in the past with individual lifetime activities. In fact, I even have an endorsement that allows you to earn an ILA endorsement for something that the school wants to have, and we give graduation credit for. Well, we found out recently that there's a rule that in order to get high school credit, we have to have state standards. This does not mean elective credit. This means high school core graduation credits. So we basically are only going to have 4 categories of PE. Yeah, 4 categories. So it's either fitness for life, which there's never a substitution for, participation skills, which you can use athletic involvement for when you use the board guidelines, or you can have individual lifetime activities, which again, you can use athletics for, or currently we have yoga and strength training standards. We created the yoga and strength training last summer. Everything else would be an elective credit. Just an elective. It's not PE core graduation credit. It's just elective. I see that this is going to be a bit of a problem for a lot of us because I have approved personally in the 3 years that I have been at the state, a lot of people to teach dance for ILA credit. We currently don't have dance standards. We can create them, that's not a problem. Yoga took us a day. It took us 1 day to create them. Now I had some rock star teachers. Thank you to the districts that brought me some teachers. We had Weber, Davis, Wasatch. I know I'm missing 2. I think one was Alpine or Nebo. I can't remember on that one. Sorry about that. But we had great teachers come together and they brought kind of their own outlines, and we whipped it out in an 8-hour day. And then we sent it out for 30 days of public feedback. We got great feedback, so we went ahead and they're published now. You can find them online. And strength and conditioning, we did the same thing. We asked for who. Alpine led this one out. Alpine had a couple teachers that came to me, and Alpine, at the time it was Alex. He came and suggested we did, and this was last year's state meeting in April, that you all wanted us to create some standards for strength training, strength and conditioning, and we did. And that will be ILA credit. So what I need now is I need you to tell me what other courses do we need to have standards for at the state level, my level, so that you can use them for your high school graduation ILA credits. This is only going to be ILA. So participation skills is still either the core standards that are already in writing, already in the core standard booklet or PDF, whatever you use, or athletics. Fitness for life is still only fitness for life. And ILA is the one we get to play with. We get to create what are called supplemental standards for ILA. You can find the yoga and strength conditioning standards on the PE website. So let me give you that. .ur/PE. So that's where you can find those. Right now they're called guidelines because we weren't sure how we were going to word it. We were still working with the board on that, but now they have been very clear that if we are giving graduation credit, the rule is very clear that we have to have standards. We have to have state standards. So I'm anticipating dance. Would there be backcountry skiing? We could do something about, so dance is in fine arts. Dance currently is for fine arts. So we could use dance fine arts. So cheer right now is under athletic activity. It's not a UHSAA activity, but we can count that as athletic activity as long as your cheer coach is certified and has CPR. Concurrent in college, fitness for life, does that require that, as long as the standards are covered, yes. And that would be fitness for life. As long as you're covering the core standard for fitness for life, you're fine. Somebody's talking, I'm not sure who. Water polo fit for life. Water polo can't ever be fit for life. Sports can never be fit for life. Fit for life can only be fitness for life. Fitness for life actually has a classroom component to it. Cheer, gymnastics, course. So cheer again could be under athletic activity. Bruce, do you want to unmute yourself and explain what your rowing team bike, are you using that for ILA or athletics? Bruce, I can unmute you if you want. Okay, Bruce, you're unmuted.
So we just had a lot of those turned in since I've been the specialist there for individual lifetime activities that were approved over those years that were, they fulfilled those standards. Like we have a standard sheet they take to the coach and they work with the coach on the standards and give us the training schedule, and they go through and connect the same standards that we use for individual lifetime activities to whatever their specific thing they're turning in. And look based on that application to see if they actually fulfill those standards.
Which goes to athletic involvement though, right? We're using the guideline for athletics.
Yes, but for the individual lifetime activities.
Yeah, so, and we can already do that. So we already have a board rule or a guide on that. Yeah. So if we're talking about athletics, so volleyball, soccer, Allie, your comment, if it's part of the athletic team, that's fine. Go ahead and do it. The way the core standards for individual lifetime activities, if we're not talking about athletics, if we're talking about athletics, then that is a completely separate process, and we have a guideline that's already board approved, actually unanimously, which never happens, board approved. That is also on the health education page under graduation requirements for PE. So you have to follow, if you're going to use athletics, you have to follow that guideline. What we're talking about is a class that is open to all students. So any student in your school can take, it's open enrollment, a yoga or strength training, and very often dance. I'm seeing a lot of things about recreation things. I think for that, what we'd want to do is maybe just call it like outdoor rec and not have it so specific where we're like skiing or kayaking or fly fishing or whatever, and just call it outdoor rec. And I guess this is where I need your feedback. And this is where being live in front of you would be awesome. If it's non-school comp team, David, you follow the same standards, and it's under, there's a section in there called pilot program. You would use that. Oh, thanks, Greg, that you like outdoor rec. Because then I think, and Kurt as well, if we called it outdoor rec, then we could incorporate many things, and we would just have very broad standards, right? So they have to have minimum skills. We follow the same, let me be really specific on this. We follow the same 5 strands that PE has in every grade. So those of you that are familiar with the standards in physical education, it doesn't matter if it's kindergarten, fitness for life, or ILA. There's 5 strands. Yoga and strength training, what they did is they took those 5 strands and they put minimum standards under those 5 strands that you would need to do to get the graduation credit in yoga or strength and conditioning. Strength and conditioning has a lot of safety components. It has technique and lifting. So with outdoor rec, we would do the same thing, right? So what are some minimum things that you need to know for outdoor rec? Dance would be the same thing, and I would definitely want to kind of look at the ones that arts have done. But we would have very minimum, and we're talking, when I say minimum, we're talking like 5 standards under each strand. It's not huge, but it's a minimum framework that your teachers would use. They still have a ton of autonomy in their class on how they teach it. And you could have a huge variety of skills that they learn that are very specific to your school, your demographic, your geography of where you teach, because I would imagine outdoor rec in St. George would look a lot different than it does in Logan. But we could do that. Recreation could be good. Don't limit outdoors, just just recreation, okay. Good, I like that, so recreation. Okay, so far I have recreation and dance. Why can't it be fit for life? That was a board, so there was a committee that did this, and the board agreed. So athletics can only be individual lifetime activities or participation skills and techniques. A lot of fitness for life, again, has that classroom component. So we're talking about nutrition, we're talking about fit principle, blood pressure, cholesterol, aging process, bone density. Those are all in there. Okay, so recreation life activities, which I kind of feel like recreation life activities is kind of what ILA already is. We go through a variety of activities already, but we can we'll totally put a committee together and see if we can't be a little more specific with making it really truly recreation. So so far I have the recreation and the dance. And if your school has something that's just a one-off, right? You have, I don't know, fencing. Is that a good enough one-off? And you really want to do fencing, you can do fencing. It will be an elective. Yes, this is only for high school. Participation skills has standards. So in the standards, the core standards that already exist for PE, participation skills is already there. We allow athletic participation to count as 0.5 credits for participation skills. And remember, you can only get a max of 0.5 credit for any sport. It doesn't matter if you played football for 4 years, you only get 0.5 credits for football. Yes, you can include many activities and participation skills. It's not specific enough that it says you have to play team sports. You can. You can also play 0 team sports and participation skills and have it count. Okay. Any other? If you guys think of something else, the PE webpage under graduation credit, dance is a standard in PST. It's not an option, it's a standard. Can you take a full credit participation skills and not ILA? So the way it's written out in rule, which is R277700, is it actually lists out participation skills, ILA, and fit for life. And then the rule says that you can have 0.5 credits per sport. Oh, yes, David, you're right. You can have 0.5 credits per sport for either ILA or participation skills. And your local board, your local charter or district board, will decide if the sport, the athletic, meets the core standards for ILA or participation skills, and to receive the 0.5 credits. But again, it doesn't matter if you do 4 years of basketball, you get 0.5 credits period for basketball. If a student wants, and you can only get 1 credit max. So if a student who plays basketball wants to have a full credit for their athletic activity, they need to play a second sport. So they need to also do track and field, and then your local board approves track and field to be PE graduation credit. And yes, you could, your local board, as Bruce just said, your local board could say, no, you still have to take PST, participation skills. Your local board has 100% authority on what counts and what does not count, which is why I don't have a list. I don't say that football counts for lifetime activities, because maybe it doesn't in your local jurisdiction. You have local control, 100% local control over what counts and what doesn't. You just have to follow the guideline. Okay. Any other questions on this one? Oh, we are running out of time. Okay, I'm going to fly. email me if you have specific questions. We're gonna go really quick. This summer we have we are actually going to have a discussion later today to say if we're going to postpone this or cancel it. It is pending COVID-19, but I sent an email on this, and I will send another email in a few days once we know what we're doing. But that we are going around to 7 different regions across the state. So all the way from St. George out in Vernal, we're going up to Cache County. We're in Davis, we're in Utah County, and we're in Salt Lake County. And we have 7 different locations for this, and we have a secondary health, a secondary PE, and we have an elementary combined health and PE, which we're calling Healthy Bodies, Healthy Minds. And we're going through the standards, and we have some really awesome things planned. So hopefully we can do at least some of it. My hope is that we can at least do a couple in July. But all of this, of course, depends on how we are doing with COVID. We passed a recess guidance in, not right now, that's not an option, Hyland, for doing it through an online forum. We're looking at maybe a few mini sessions of it online, but not for the whole thing. Again, I have a meeting this afternoon to see what we're doing with it. Kylan is one of our designers. She's designing the health. So, and they're going to be so great. And if we don't use them this year, we will use them next. I'm hoping that with health, I can try to have some throughout the fall and kind of offer like a few mini sessions regionally, but we'll see what we can do. So we do have so this is for elementary. Recess is for our elementary schools. We want you to use this guideline that we presented to the board in January in your local policies. You can find the recess guidance on the Safe and Healthy Schools page on the state site. You can find it on PE. You can also find it on health. And there is a link to the guideline on all 3 of those pages. So you can use this in your local jurisdictions. Utah State Board of Education has a strategic plan. Jeff was talking earlier about the Safe and Healthy Schools. We have a strategy in here for 3B, and I am the person over strategy 3B, which is increased adoption of evidence-based student health and wellness practices. As part of that, we are doing a model wellness policy. You'll find this in your Google folder. The model wellness policy has all of these components that are listed on your screen. I'm not going to take the time to read them to you. That is incredibly boring, and I am short on time. But I would like some feedback. So if you can email me before May 1st, if you have anything that you would like to say, and so that we can have a final revised document that we can post to the USBE website. This is just a model. You don't have to have this in your local policy. From the feedback that I've heard from some of our district and charter leaders that I sent this to in March, most people really like what the elements we've done. Typically, a wellness policy has physical activity and nutrition, and that's kind of it. This one included substance abuse prevention, mental health, and health promotion. So sun safety, medication. And these are things that traditionally we've had all of these separate policies for, and we're trying to make it just one policy so we can have less total policies, and we can use one policy for everything, including staff wellness. So if you would like to submit some feedback to allow us to revise this model, and you have some things that you think maybe we missed or you don't understand something, please submit that feedback back to me just through email by May 1st, and we can incorporate your thoughts into our final document. Again, your local district or charter still has 100% autonomy on what your own wellness policy looks like. We just want to create a model for you that you can use and make your own. I still have endorsement courses. These will very likely turn into online courses because they are in June. Our current prediction is that everything in June will need to be online. We won't be having large gatherings in June still. So we have Nate was talking earlier about what Salt Lake Community College offers. These are the ones that USBE or Utah State Board of Education, this is what we offer. And this is what we're doing this summer. All the courses are currently full. We have a waiting list. The beauty is a lot of people drop and we end up getting people on. So if you are a teacher or you have a teacher that needs to get endorsed, these are the courses that we are offering. They may have more room. It is up to the teacher. I am not going to force a teacher to grade 100 pieces of work. If a teacher still only wants to have 30 educators in their class, we are going to set the limit to 30. I will not force a teacher to teach more than they're comfortable with. Okay. Any questions so far? We are almost done. I have one more slide. I want to pause because I just went through a ton of stuff really fast. So I am pausing just to make sure. Okay, law and policy, instruction, insurance form still. Yes, it is still due at the end of May. We will give you a little bit of leniency if you can't meet all together. Will this conference be available? What we're doing right now? Is that what you mean by conference? Yes, yeah, we're recording this and I'll get it in the Google Drive when we're done. It typically takes a few minutes, or not minutes, sorry. It typically takes a few days. Sorry, if you didn't catch it, I am 8 months pregnant and sometimes I don't know my words. Okay, very final thing. Thank you guys all for hanging with me. I know we are going over on time, but we would like to let Bruce Brinkman know that we appreciate him so much. And in over 30 years of public education, Bruce has been such an advocate to all of us. He has pushed for conferences. He's been the president of Shape Utah, which was previously UAFORD, and he has brought so many opportunities to Utah. Your retirement is well earned, but you are going to be so missed by so many. When we were going to do this in person, there were a few of us that were going to bring you some donuts. Your wife and I have been chatting, so I believe that she is going to do the honors for us and bring you some donuts. Those of you that think that this is hilarious, that we're bringing a health and PE educator donuts, he jokes about donuts all the time. So we wanted to thank you properly, and Bruce, you are great. Please don't change your phone number, because your depth of knowledge and just wealth of everything you bring to PE and health is something that we will never be able to replicate. And I would love to still have you on the committee for Healthy Bodies, Healthy Minds, and just really share everything. So I don't know if you're reading the comments, Bruce, but there are like so many people that are commenting and thanking you for all that you've done for us. So thank you so much. I know I'm one person, but I'm clapping for you. You are so great. So hopefully you have some great donuts. And that concludes our meeting today. There's my contact information. If you need it, again, I will get this online for you. Please email me directly. You can call me. Please let me know how I can be of help to you in the last about 5-6 weeks of school that we are going to learn how to navigate online. There's no official that we are online for the rest of the year, but please just prepare that way. You guys are awesome and have such a great day.